My name is Travis Williamson. I'm a brother at Sigma Chi Kappa Rho. This year for Derby Days, we're taking the fight to cancer in a whole new direction. We're introducing the Derby story, a chance for everybody participating in our event to share their own personal stories about how cancer has affected their lives with everybody else in the community. I want to start by telling you my story. When I was 1 year old, my mom discovered a lump on her right breast. She always told me that she'll never forget that day. The day you go and have a biopsy that comes up positive for cancer is the day you start praying for things you would have otherwise taken for granted. She didn't know if she'd see me walk, ride a bike, go to school, much less graduate from college. It was a really, really hard year for her, but I can't pretend like I know what that was like. But I will tell you that I have no memory of how much pain she was in, how much stress she was under, because through it all, she was an amazing mother the entire time. For months and months, the doctors had her undergo several surgeries to try and save the breast. That sounds crazy now, but at the time, that was the protocol. There was very little research already done, and more so being done on how to deal with breast cancer the most effective way possible. A year later, she ended up having a mastectomy, and she was cancer-free, and thank God she's been cancer-free since. Our family was really lucky that day. But 5 years later, cancer came back into our lives. My dad was 42 years old and in amazing shape. He's a big guy, and he always was. He was captain of every conceivable sports team in high school, very athletic throughout college, stayed in great health into his adult life. At 42 years old with a 5-year-old son, he was told by his oncologist at MD Anderson Hospital in Houston that he had 6 weeks to live. At 42 years old, he had to fly home, talk to lawyers and accountants, and write his last will and testament. That's something you never really imagine having to do. Nobody plans at 40 to say goodbye to their 5-year-old son for the last time and fly back to Houston, miles and miles away from where he lives, to undergo cancer treatment. 6 months later, he was declared cancer-free, but his battle didn't end there. He was originally diagnosed with stage 4 head and neck cancer. There wasn't a stage 5. He immediately had to start aggressive chemotherapy simultaneous with his radiation treatments. He lost all the salivary glands in his head and neck, and to this day still doesn't have any saliva. For 6 months after he concluded his treatment, he lived on a small couch in my parents' room. He was awake like this, and he slept like this. He ate all of his meals through a feeding tube. A lot of people don't really understand what it means when we say we're raising money for cancer research. My dad was given a death sentence. The experimental treatments he had were part of research funding. The work they're doing at Huntsman produces the same kind of life-saving treatments that my dad got. You can buy a lot of things with your money, but you can't buy time. But through this cause and through this organization, every dollar you give could buy one more day, one more hour, one more week for somebody and their child. There's a time in both my parents' lives when they didn't think they'd be able to see me graduate from American University in May. Because of the life-saving work people are doing all around the world, I'll be able to have my parents to hug me at graduation. And I can't really express in words how grateful I am to this campus for the work they're doing, but I really just want to say thank you. Because I love my mom and dad, and I know you do too. The sad part is this isn't a unique story. Everybody's had to battle with cancer, and it's affected some loved one in some way at some point in all your lives. But I really believe we can do it. We're smart, we're kind, we're compassionate, and we're going to be the generation to end cancer. Saddle up, let's do it. And I really hope you share your Derby stories with us later this week. Thank you.